Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Okay, now for the lightning round.
I'm so good at lightning rounds. That's from Friends. It's my favorite show.
20 seconds on the clock starts now. Who is the captain of the USS Enterprise?
Oh, crap. Is it, Captain Stubing? No, Morgan? Crunch?
Next question. Which superhero is Tony Stark?
Stark. Did Game of Thrones have superheroes? I only watched 2 episodes.
What planet were Luke and Leia born on?
Planet Fitness?
Oh, time's up. Sorry. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hey everybody, Mandy Kaplan here. Please check out my podcast, Make Me a Nerd, where each week an incredible guest tries to baptize this mainstream mom into the world of sci-fi, fantasy, and all things nerdy. Available wherever you podcast.
That's our show, folks.
Wait, I just thought of it. Padme Amidala gave birth to her twins Luke and Leia on Polis Massa. No, that's dumb. Is it Planet Hollywood?
Meet Zinnia.
You are being very polite to someone who is attempting to kill us.
Her wife, Saffron.
You know I'm wildly, madly in love with you.
And their best friend, Goldie.
Glad we didn't miss all the fun.
Swords in hand, they defend their city from the worst of humanity.
I am Lord Buxton Blue.
Equity Electric.
Herr Haig. Virgil Walcott. Vicious Suave.
Follow their adventures on the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society audio drama podcast. Available now at truestory.fm/swashbuckling.
Hello, world. Welcome to the Adrian Moment on truestory.fm. Thank you for listening to us wherever you get your podcasts. Like us, rate us, give us 5 stars to tell people these are the moments they don't want to miss. I'm Ocean Murff, and I am joined as always by the Max to my Atom, Jim Pullen.
How are you today, Mr. Ocean?
Yeah, Max was I was saying you were Max the human. I'm just the robot that doesn't have any speaking parts.
Okay.
I mean, I got some good dance moves, but that's about it.
Okay,
yeah, that's about it. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, see, in that situation, your dance moves are going to be far superior than what you're going to be shadowing of me if I'm doing the dancing.
Well,
Max.
Well, I don't know. I guess if I'm shadowing your dancing, then I mean that means I'll be able to keep up, right? So I think it'll work.
But it's gonna be bad though.
Well, I mean, hey, if dancing in a group if everyone in the group is dancing badly, but they're doing the same dance badly, is it then good?
Oh, that's a great question. It's kind of like if a tree falls in the woods, do you hear it? Yeah, man. No, that's a good question. Like, yeah, no, everybody's gonna be like, yeah, we're awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like it might look good. It's like group singing. Like if you think about group singing usually sounds good, even if it's a bunch of people that aren't really good singers. I mean, it doesn't sound amazing, but it sounds fine.
I think that might be a stretch.
You don't think group singing sounds good? Like if 20 people sing a song, you don't think it when we go to like a game or like the UFC fight that we went to, right? Like people singing along with the national anthem. People can't sing the national anthem, but when there's a whole bunch of people singing it together, it sounds okay.
No, that's true. Yeah, it sounds okay. No, you're right in the moment. But I mean, like if it was like 6 people singing horribly, no.
No. When I say a group, I mean like at least like 3 or 4 dozen, like a large group, like preferably 100, like or like when you're in a stadium full of people singing.
Right. Yeah, that way there's more that is covering up the lesser singers.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
No, it's true. That's true. And that UFC event, that was fun. That was like my first one, other than like going to a local casino, a little riverboat casino kind of style thing.
Well, so, you're making it sound like you were going to like backyard illegal fights. We're like, there's a bookie in a rainbow sun visor, and he's taking bets in the back, and he has a pencil behind his ear.
Exactly. I mean, you can. There's a couple of Instagram accounts that you can follow that are like that, but yeah.
Yeah. So So yeah, so what did you? So then you're right. Since I go to these every year, and then this was the first one for you in a while. What did you think of the UFC fight? How did you enjoy the live experience?
I mean, the live experience was a blast, and I really enjoyed it because I think I was more surprised at, for where we were sitting. Like we're in Seattle, so we're at Climate Pledge. We're sitting at, if you go to one of the hockey games or a basketball game, you're sitting at an end zone, or where somebody's
I
shooting.
was gonna say they don't have end zones in
It's
hockey and
not end zones,
basketball.
but yeah, where
Yeah.
you're shooting, to one of the ends, and so
Do
that's
you
about
mean
where
the
we're
goal?
sitting.
Were you trying to say the
The
goal?
goal, really, yeah, one of
The
the goal
goal.
end. Yeah,
Okay, got it, got it. So where
so
the goal is in hockey.
yeah, so
All
we're
right.
sitting up in the two hundo, and great seats, great angles, and I was surprised, like, actually how loud it was. Not loud crowd noise, like when everybody's watching, and then you could just hear that good, and somebody's just getting smacked, somebody's getting
Oh, the
hit,
hits. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, it was, I mean, true shout out to these athletes who are willing to put themselves out on the line, and just sit there and have a slugfest or a wrestle fest, and go all out. And one thing I absolutely have always enjoyed about UFC, for the most part, at the end of the fight, the fighters are, like hugging it out and talking to each other, and it's like, okay, we've done our job. I know that there's some guys that are, going to have, like, I don't like you, and you talk crap about my wife or whatever, and you're not going to really want to hug it out afterwards. But
Right, right.
it's just something that I've always admired, that you go out there with the intentions and the emotion of, like, I want to kill you and I want to end you right here, right now. And you're slitting your throat as you see the person. And then at the end of it, you're like hugging and high fiving and making
Did you
sure
say
you're
that
okay.
you're slitting your throat? Like, so
Yeah, you're
you're,
like,
you're
"Arr!"
oh, okay,
like
got
if
it.
you're
You're
the
just
fighter, right?
you're
Yeah,
pantomiming it. Okay.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I was
exactly.
like, if you slit
No, I
your
was.
own throat,
Well, yeah.
you've
No,
lost.
with your thumb, and
Okay,
you're
yeah,
just like,
okay. Got it, got it, got it.
so yeah, no, I mean, I just really enjoyed the part of just being there and seeing and hearing the live action versus being at home, and you're given the angles that you're given on the TV, right? And
Right.
sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not so great, and then when you're there, it's, I've got this advantage point, trying to ignore the TV or the big screen, and then you look up for certain aspects of the fight, or if something's blocking your view. I don't know, I just, the live portion of it is great, and I hope to be able to go to a Vegas event with you here in the near future.
Did you want to talk about the history of when you stopped liking it?
Yes. So,
Okay. Do you want to just transition into that?
yeah, let's just transition into that. So, I mean, really, UFC was interesting to me. I don't know, about 10, 15 years ago, it was more interesting. And for the most part, for me, it was because, just timeline wise, and I don't know year or anything like that, but when the UFC and the WEC ended up, or the UFC ended up buying out the WEC shortly thereafter, I just started noticing that a lot of the competitors were more into a wrestling style rather than, a jujitsu, standing up and, hey, let's just go ahead and knock out a couple of punches, and, let's have a flying knee kick, or,
Right.
a Superman punch or something. There was always something that was always exciting prior to that WEC buyout. And I'm not saying that it was the WEC that introduced more of the wrestling style, you know,
Oh, so you thought the UFC was more exciting, not the WEC, because the WEC was lighter, and that was it's
I
in
liked
twenty
the
in 2011. The UFC bought them in 2011.
That was 2011.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was
so
2011. So,
shortly thereafter. No, I
okay,
liked watching the WEC. The wife and I, we would always watch both on a fairly regular basis. But it just seemed like when the UFC bought out the WEC, I don't know if it was a change in culture, some different fighters that were coming in. It was just the latest style. Maybe there was a dominant fighter, that was a more of a Roman wrestling style, and it just seemed like there was just more hugging, and not a whole lot of fighting. I mean, I remember paying for some pay-per-views, and at the end of the pay-per-view, it's like, okay, well, nobody was bleeding, nobody got hurt, there was no knockouts, and it was like tons of decisions by the way of card, and it's like, okay, well, that's not exciting. That's boxing again, and it's like, but it's boxing with wrestling, and so it just stopped a lot of my interests. And you're saying 2011, so yeah, it was about 10 years ago or so. I just stopped watching it because it wasn't as interesting to me anymore.
And so really, what you wanted was more of a gladiator style sport, more of where that they were, knockouts. I mean, I like submissions. Do you like submissions as well, or are you more of a pure knockout
Yeah,
player?
no, I enjoy submissions.
Yeah. So yeah, just more of where
No,
they're.
I like both. I like the knockouts. I like submissions. It's fun to see guys and gals get out of submission attempts. I think that's pretty amazing to see where somebody's arm looks like it's getting ready to be twisted completely off and they can get out of it. I like the defensive side of that that wrestling, or that portion of the wrestling. But when it's just like laying down on somebody and a little bit of ground and pound, and it's just like 3 minutes of bad teenage makeout session, it's just like, this I don't want to see it, nor do I want to pay for it.
Teenage makeout. Okay, so then effectively then, would you rather have is more of the blood sport, more gladiator like, and then obviously then ramping that up to where they, if they don't lose consciousness, just to make it feel like they're closer to death.
Wow, that went dark.
But I know, right? Like, that's what the gladiators are, right? Like, you want to have them closer, they're up on the edge, So.
I mean, I don't know about the whole death thing, but yeah,
okay.
I mean, I mean, there's. I always admired in the UFC if there was somebody who, God, his name was like Cowboy, and like if he was going to be submitted, he would never tap out until like the last second. Like his tap outs were like so weak, like you could tell he was nearly blacked out if he had to tap out.
Yeah, usually Cowboy, Cowboy. You're talking about Donald Cerrone, so yeah, but more often than not, Cowboy would get. If he lost that way, he would get knocked out more than submitted. He was really hard to submit, but you could. Right. There were guys that could, if you were a special fighter, you could knock him out. But submitting him was like, that wasn't going to happen. But right. Okay, so really, then you are describing the initial seed of a world where instead of having people fight, you would have robots fight, like the movie Real Steel.
Charlie, where is my money?
Buddy, I got your money. It's right. I'm good. But
Charlie, you're
losing your belt.
Wait, Charlie, I can't hear what you're saying.
What was he like? As a boxer? Charlie was the top contender, number 2 in the world. Then the fight game changed. I'm coming with you.
No, you're not.
I'm either coming with you or you're fishing for your keys in the sewer. Oh my God, that was close. No!
Stubborn kid. This ain't a video game. This is for real. Let's make some money! I just need a little loan.
As much as I like you, dude, you're a bad bet, brother.
Give it up, Charlie. You got nothing left. What are we looking for?
Anything I could use to put a fighting robot together.
I think there's a whole robot in there. Never seen anything like it before. Can we get him a fight?
He's a sparring bot, built to take a lot of hits, but never dishing out any real punishment.
His name is Adam. Get him a fight.
You know you're bringing him home in pieces, right? Whoa, whoa, whoa! He's smaller and weaker, and he's gonna get his ass kicked.
I need you to teach him to box.
You kidding me?
You know this fight game inside and out. He needs your moves, your commands.
I can't.
Yes, you can.
I know I've done all kinds of wrong by this kid. Just like to do one thing right. Right uppercut! Great fight, fellas. Remember this name, Adam. This bot is one to watch.
I'm trying to see a better side to you here, Charlie.
It's not easy.
Real Steel was released in 2011, starring Hugh Jackman, Evangeline Lilly, Dakota Goyo, Anthony Mackie, Kevin Durant, and Hope Davis. It was directed by Sean Levy and written by John Gattens, Dan Gilroy, and Jeremy Levine. And the IMDb tagline, to say what it is about, is, in a near future where robot boxing is a top sport, a struggling ex-boxer feels he's found a champion in a discarded robot. Now, honestly, with me, with that, when I hear that, as far as reading that tagline from IMDb, the first thing I think of with the movie is they don't mention the kid at all.
No,
And
nothing.
so and that was for me anyway the most thing that one of the more surprising things about this movie, because when there's the trailer of it and it has the robot fighting, which is great, and it was Hugh Jackman, and it's 2011 Hugh Jackman, so we're fresh off of some X-Men love, and he's Wolverine, and I think he's actually made the good Wolverine movie instead of the bad original one. And so we're good with that, right? And then, but really, this movie is a little bit ridiculous and probably shouldn't work. But I feel that it does, and it's surprising that it does. In that, you end up caring about the father-son relationship that Hugh Jackman, or what is it, Charlie, and then his son Sam, develop, and that it was like has heart to it, and that so that is the thing that I found the most surprising initially, that I actually cared about the relationship, because I went in just looking for the robots.
Yeah, and I don't know about you. I agree with what you're saying, but I don't know about you. At first, there's really not a whole lot to care about in their relationship, because like Hugh Jackman could give two squats about his own kid, So
yes. Initially, yeah, I agree with that. But okay, but then outside of that, I mean, even though he does try to sell his child, I mean, you got to think, hey, that at least there's. Do you care? Did you find that you cared about Max early on? Like, cared about the child, not necessarily, even if you don't care about Charlie.
Yeah, I think so. I initially ended up thinking, this poor kid. Here you are, you're brought onto this trip, right? And you're brought onto it because the dad needs you to come along, and it's just like. Yeah, so initially I'm surprised.
Well, he wasn't brought. He made himself go.
Well, yeah, he made
it. Charlie was going to leave him. He was going to leave him at the gym with he's going to leave him at the gym with what was the Evangeline with Bailey, right? And he was just going to roll on. So Charlie's summer was going to be spent, I don't know, cleaning up sweat off the floor.
Sweat or robot parts.
Yeah,
probably what.
So not Charlie, Max. Max. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. So you found that you did not care at all about them early on. When did it turn for you? Since for me it turned pretty early on. But when did it turn? When did it change for you? When did you actually start caring about their relationship?
It was it was the zoo scene. It was like once we started getting towards the
zoo okay, well, you're jumping way ahead. That means you didn't care about them for quite some time. All right, so then
I know. Well, I think it's because I was upset. I think I was upset at the whole Charlie relationship thing. Like he just didn't want anything to do with your son. Like it's like, well, how you don't want anything to do with your son? Why? You're like pushing him away.
You were already kind of hating him early. Hating Charlie early, and then you kind of had to he had to win you over as I guess as an audience member, right? That's kind of what you're saying. Okay, yeah. That was definitely different than my experience with it. I just felt like, okay, well, I just felt we knew where we were going. Now, was part of your dislike for Charlie the early part, right, when he first brings out was it Noisy Boy and fights the bull? And then how he's mean to those little girls, and saying that, he's charging them money to take a picture or whatever, and just kind of shows him Noisy Boy and all that, and how he's, basically feels like he's getting ripped off from his, on his deal from Ricky, right? Because he's supposed to get more money, but then, he's supposed to fight, he's supposed to fight a smaller bull. And then, and that's what he's complaining about, is that the bull is too big. And so, then did that influence did that scene or that structure influence how you felt about Charlie early on?
Yeah, I really do believe that the movie was kind of, for me, the visually constructing the emotions of like, yeah, this guy's just a dirtbag, man. And I just, he's just in it for the money. He's in it for himself. It's just your atypical alcoholic, just going about the day, go get his money. He's always got to pay somebody, wouldn't be surprised if he was constantly taking phone calls like he was initially, and like, oh yeah, no, I'll get you your money. I'm at a fight right now. I'll get you your money here in just a little bit. Right after this fight, I'll get you your money. It seemed like he was always needing to owe somebody money for something.
Okay.
Right. So for me, yeah, I was totally constructed visually and emotionally with the movie of like, yeah, this guy's just a total dirtbag.
Well, yes, I guess you could definitely say that. And as far as the money goes, there is the when the his well, I guess for lack of a better term, when his baby mama dies, and then leaves him Max. He actually, while he was initially going to try to sell the child off, he decided to then, in a sense, what is it? Charge a very huge babysitting fee. So that he would take him for a couple months while what is it? The Aunt Deborah and Marvin went on a trip to Europe or wherever they went. Anyway, and so then and through that, then and then he's going to leave him at the gym, and then they go forward and on their they start on the adventure with the robot fighting, and then of course we see that early on Charlie is bad at it. And he's able to acquire these new robots, but then he doesn't know what to do with them, and he enters into another fight with what is it? When they went to that first place with Finn, when they fought it wasn't Noisy Boy. What was the one I don't remember the name of the second one he bought. But that second robot he bought that was from Japan and everything,
From Japan,
purple,
yeah,
the purple and really cool looking one that just went and got his head knocked off in one fight and then they were done. And then we get to we can just skip over all that because really the important part is the discovery of Adam when Max discovers Adam and that robot, and so and how that one is really more of a what does he end up being, a sparring bot where he can really take a lot of punishment but he doesn't deliver a lot out. And then
wasn't built for speed, wasn't built for anything other than just taking a licking.
Exactly, and how that and then the relationship in a sense from at that point starts with between Max and Adam. And that was kind of like, before we move on to the cooler robot stuff, the other thing that I was thinking about was, well, do you think that because I noticed I too was I cared in lack of a better word, I cared about Adam, and I was wondering like when I started thinking about why I cared, was it because versus the other robots, is it because Adam's face looked more humanoid? And that, in a fact, what happens is that there are moments in this movie where you feel like Adam is emoting or trying to communicate something, or is having a deep thought or a deep expression of a kind. And I'm wondering, then, did you feel that ever at all? And then B, did you think it was not because that was what was happening on screen? Because I don't think it is, or is it more just like a reflection of how you are taking the movie in?
I didn't really take any kind of like emotional. Like an emotional attachment to Adam. And I think mostly that's, for me, it's because, he's a mirroring robot, right? I mean, it's not like he has AI for any additional thoughts or anything like that. Except for they do introduce that from that purple robot. I think they introduce some of his AI abilities for learning how to defend against certain punches and stuff, right? So he's doing all of his mimics. So to me, like, I can understand why people might get attached to Adam because he's mirroring all the human interactions. He's got more of a humanistic face. He's got kind of built more humanoid than robot. But so it doesn't really seem like a robot is there because he's connected to the human that's moving, which is our little Max. So it's like, I don't know. I don't really get overly attached to Adam as a robot because I see him as an extension of the child.
So an example of what I'm talking about in the microcosm is there's the one where they go for a run, which was kind of funny. It was like he's a robot fighter. He doesn't need to do road work.
Right. Yeah. He doesn't need conditioning.
So, yeah, exactly. He doesn't need this, And so, but when they go for the run and everything, and then Max has Adam pick him up, and then they kind of look in the face and they're tilting their heads, and then he just says, "You can understand me, can't you?" And then Adam doesn't respond at all, and he's like, "Okay, your secret's safe with me." And then he puts him down, and it's as if they had they had a conversation there. And as an audience member, I felt like, I felt like I was understanding. Yes, they are having a conversation here. So then in that moment, did you look at that as just like, well, this is this kid and his, real life imaginary friend? Because he's kind of imagining a personality.
Yeah, you hit it. You hit the nail right there on the head, man. Yeah, it's total to me in that moment, as sweet and innocent as that moment is. I just took it more of like, oh, this is a nice little moment that we're peering in on a child's imagination, and he's seeing that this robot is becoming something other than just a mirrored image of himself. Not that for me it took away from anything from the movie or anything like that. It was just like, yeah, okay, that's cool. That it's an artistic way. The way I interpreted it was that it was a neat and artistic way for us as the viewer to see what the child was seeing in the moment. Not necessarily that Adam didn't respond. It's this is what we're seeing from the vision of the child. It's not his POV. So don't get me wrong. It's not like we're zoomed in.
For part, it really is.
But yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, it is. So I mean, to me, it's more of that artistic, that director artistic point of view of like, we're in the child's moment with his imaginary friend Adam, who idealistically is just a mirroring robot of what he does. And yes, the head tilt didn't happen, but it didn't happen because we're inside the kid's head. It's an artistic way for us to visually see it.
Well, no, the head tilt happened because he tilted his head. Adam was just mimicking him because he moved it because Max tilted his head, so Adam just tilted it too. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
it wasn't. It wasn't. He was tilting his head because he's trying to connect. He was tilting his head because he mimics. He mimics him and does what he does. I guess now that we've at least established a little bit of what Adam is, and that they fixed him up and cleaned him up, and then you're saying that when the moment for you changed a bit on Charlie is when they got Adam his first fight in that. They looked like a rock quarry, right? Is that what that was? It was a rock quarry where they were in, and they were just in this pit and having that fight. Is that the moment? And I realize I've now talked about the setup of the fight so much that you think it was a bigger deal, but it was not, right? It was just kind of like, okay, they had their first fight against Kingpin. I knew that the name of the guy was like some other superhero type thing. So yeah, so then so when they got in a fight with Kingpin, who is as a sidebar played much better by Vincent D'Onofrio in the Daredevil Born Again show. Yeah, back to Real Steel. When they fight Kingpin, is that then when he fought Kingpin's fighter and they bet on it and everything that he'll last, I don't know, a minute or whatever? Is that that's when you started feeling more like Charlie's a human?
That Charlie's more of a human?
Well, or that you cared more, right? Because your first thing was just a dirtbag. So is he still? Right. So and you said that you started like around this time. He's not a dirtbag anymore. Was it the experience of the fight? Was it because they won? Was it because what happened in that moment that started to alter your opinion of what was going on?
It seems like he started believing more in the kid as well as the robot, right? So I mean, to me, it seemed like it was the beginning of the turning point for Charlie because, initially we're seeing him as an alcoholic, absent father who obviously owes a lot of money to various bookies of some sort and other bad businessmen, assuming, and maybe it's because he starts seeing something in the kid and the robot and he starts seeing the dollar signs, but he starts just believing in the relationship that is being built between robot and son. And it starts opening up Charlie's eyes, I think, a little bit more into not only his relationship with Max, but also his own relationship. Because, I mean, he's got some dark demons that he's, burying into himself as well. So, it's like, I don't know, we just start seeing a different Charlie from that point forward, I believe.
Do you mean his own relationship with himself or his own relationship with Bailey? Because Bailey's not really around that much.
No, with himself. Yeah. Okay. No. I mean, clearly they had something at some point in time. And, just like all the other relationships that we're told of, he's pissed on every single one. And for whatever reason, she's still a believer of Charlie. Through it all, even though he puts her through absolute hell that we see in different situations throughout the movie. But yeah, so to me, that's the turning point. A little bit of the turning point of Charlie is that he's starting to maybe become a little bit more humanized rather than just demonized as the alcoholic guy that he was. Alcoholic former fighter, once never really was much of anything kind of dude.
All right.
What about you?
What about me? Like, when did I start thinking differently about?
Yeah,
about
I mean,
Charlie?
we're talking about me and Charlie and my thoughts about Charlie. I mean, what's your summary of Charlie?
My thing with Charlie is kind of a little bit very different. I had a very different perspective on him. For me, I felt that Hugh Jackman. I never had a problem with Charlie. There was a part of it where, and I was kind of curious about this. Either what you thought about it, or just this is my thing with it was. I don't know that I felt that he was the right, in a sense, the right actor for the part, right? In that, not that Hugh Jackman isn't amazing and great, because he is. And it's not that he's not good in this movie, because he really is. I think that what happened for me was I noticed that I never had a dislike for Charlie, to the point of where, and I do get the massive distaste of the idea of you're going to sell your child. That he's going to sell his kid. He's just always just looking for the next thing. He's kind of a grifter. He's definitely a ne'er-do-well. He definitely drinks too much and does all those things. But the problem I had was it was Hugh Jackman doing it. And so he's just too likable. And so I never had a moment where I felt that, I never had a moment that I felt he was a dirtbag. I always just felt like, oh, okay, well, it's Hugh Jackman. I kind of like it. So it was always kind of less of a bad person and kind of more of he just hasn't figured it out yet. He's just kind of a little, like he's a mischievous imp, and so I just felt like, I kind of felt similarly to him the way Bailey did, where it's like, I see all this promise and stuff in you that you're not, this isn't who you are. And I see that as well because it was Hugh Jackman. And I was like, maybe for me, it became a thing of to get that, to make that work. I don't know if there was a way to make it where, I don't know, if someone else had been playing that part, would I have thought differently? Probably. It was more that he was too likable. And so then I started thinking I don't know, so should we should they recast him? And then, what would they have done and who else could have played them and who could have done it better? Something like that. But then I think the problem is that it's a hard part to pull off because effectively what you're doing is you need someone that can be convincingly bad to a kid and then turn around and be sweet, right. And so then it's like, well, there, and even the few examples I could think of that I think it would work as far as the convincingly bad to the kid part, I don't know that would work on the sweet end on the other side. Like I think Billy Bob Thornton would have been great at this because Bad Santa, he was horrible, right? So, and I'm like, okay, and that, and then Bad Santa, you were kind of buying, man, he was horrible, right? And then I think he'd be great at the horrible part, but then when he turns at the end, there's a part of it where, maybe it would work, but also he's a bit older, for the parts so that his age isn't quite right, and he's obviously not he says his age isn't quite right. It doesn't kind of work out exactly the same, but, maybe. But, I think for him to pull it off, the kid would have had to have been older, which definitely would have modified the movie. There is, of course, I've always think that, you could do the, either the Bill Murray or Chevy Chase thing, but if Billy Bob Thornton is too old, they're way too old to do it. Yeah. So yes. Then I couldn't think of anyone else really, or anyone really that I was like, okay, well, what else would you do that anyone else that you would have in this type of a role? Because the important part is the end. And when he becomes, when Charlie becomes more of the hero, that's the important part. But then it's like, okay, well, of the actors who could definitely pull that part off well, how many of them can you legitimately think of as horrible beforehand? And I know, at least I felt for me, Hugh Jackman just didn't pull that part off. I still liked him.
Yeah, I can understand that point. Coming from your point of view on Hugh Jackman, I get it. And now reflecting back, I can definitely see, like, if I had, I don't know, if you put Ryan Reynolds in there, or
yeah, I still like him.
Right.
Well, Jason Bateman, right?
There you go.
Because Jason Bateman, I think maybe could do it. Maybe could do it because
he might be able to pull off enough of the emotion of like, oh, I hate that guy, to be able to flip it to like, oh, I like you now.
Here's the thing with him. I think, given some of his other movies, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Bad Words. If you have, then that is Jason Bateman being god awful to kids. Right, the whole movie. So he is great at So I think Bateman would have been great for the first part. I don't know if he could have pulled off the second part. Have you seen the movie Bad Words?
No, I haven't. It's on the list of things to watch. Yeah, really anything Jason Bateman is going to be an easy watch. So.
No, he plays an adult who finds a loophole that allows him to enter into a 5th grade spelling bee competition. Right. Oh, and so, and then he is just awful to these other 5th grade kids the whole way through. It is great. Anyway, so like Bateman could do it, but he could do the first part. So I don't know, if Bateman does the first part and then you just, he tags in Hugh Jackman or Ryan Reynolds for the second part. And then you're like, wow, he really changed. What do he look like? Something like, I don't know. And we'll be right back. Want to hear more of us? Become a subscribing member of the Adrian Moment. It is just $5 a month or $50 a year and really helps us support our show. Today's bonus content is questions that we had about the movie. How does the gym stay open? Is it illegal to bet on robot fights? How did Max's mom die?
Dun, dun, dun.
Find out sometimes non-answers to these questions and many more in our bonus section for subscribing members. To become a subscribing member, click on the link in our show notes. Whether you decide to subscribe or not, we at the Adrian Moment thank you for downloading our show. In this movie, you have Charlie, the upstart kid who's trying to get up and moving and going, and you have Adam the fighter. So, when you were watching it, who are you rooting for, and who are you rooting against?
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm rooting for the kid. You know, I was kind of talking about it earlier. I'm really rooting for the kid to sell his dad on the idea that, you know, he's not just a product of a drunken night. I think it's good from a reflection perspective that, you know, if you hang your hat on Max, that you end up seeing he may have taught his own dad more about the core values that are kind of discussed and what, you know, what Charlie is trying to believe in, and what they've discussed throughout the movie in you know, never giving up and stuff.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. I found in a weird way, I was rooting for Adam. I don't know that. What is it? I don't know. You know, I don't know. Was Max the product of a drunken night? I don't remember if he actually says that that's what happened. I mean, clearly it was not a significant relationship, but I mean, it had to be somewhat because the mother knew who he was, at least enough to say, "Here's the kid." And then, like, I was under the impression, like, so were you under? And this is a tangent aside from that. I was under the impression that while Charlie was ignoring Max, I thought that he did know Max existed. Like, it wasn't like a surprise at the will reading when he was coming to court at the beginning. Like, he knew that the child existed.
Yeah,
right?
But he didn't. He just never had any involvement or engagement or anything with that, right?
Yes.
So he knew he was there, and he knew that he was born. But other than that,
so here's the thing with that. You know, as we said earlier, I wasn't really buying that Charlie was ever a bad guy. So I was like, okay, he'll be great. And then with the kid, he's kind of doing his kid things, and don't get me wrong, I think that the performance and everything about it is great. But I found in a weird way, I'm kind of rooting for this robot because he is such an underdog not only in the first fight when he's in the pit with Kingpin's robot, but then also when he gets his first fight in the league and he fights the Twin Cities with the two heads and everything, and he gets his first fight in the league, and then they do, you know, and they have the really getting that fight, and then the first fight in the league. Honestly, I think I skipped over a part of really what happened is like the entire montage kind of sequence of where they're kind of doing these jump cuts of, like, you know, that he and Adam and Max dancing into the ring together. Then they go and do a fight and everything, and then Adam would win the fight, and then, you know, they kind of kept going up and up and up until they got to the league. And so I felt like in a weird way, it was like, while it's obviously the robot is an inanimate object, there's a way where it felt like, oh, I'm supposed to be, really what we're following is him. And this movie isn't about a father and a son getting together and bonding over a robot. It's about a robot who has fight dreams. and what he's doing is he's found a couple of dysfunctional people that will then, you know, bond together to help train him and get him in the right opportunities, because he always knew he could make it, but he just didn't get a shot.
As he was lying there in the mud at the bottom of that hill, almost over some unknown Earth's edge, Adam was sitting there thinking, I wish some humans would just slide right down here and save me from my muddy hell, because I have fighting hope dreams. That's what I'm hearing. And I love it. I'm all in.
Yeah. That's exactly what's going on. Yeah. He was down on his luck. I mean, like, really, he was living in a slum.
Literally.
Yeah, exactly. He's living in a slum. And then, you know, and he basically is like, yeah, all right, you know, and even in the slum, he was kind of like, all right, well, there's this kid about to follow his death. I guess I'll just catch him, right? Because I mean, I don't have much. I don't have much to live for.
I got my one hand out.
I got my one hand out. I'll catch him and stuff like that and see what's going on. And then they clean him up and pick him up and they give him a hot meal. And they say, hey, Adam, you could be a fighter. And Adam's like, I know I could be a fighter. I just no one ever believed in me.
No, I love it. I love that. I love that because I didn't really put that much thought into an inanimate object that is a mirroring robot that mirrors what the human does. So, which I love because to me, you are cheering on for the child. And I love that. I love that.
You're cheering on for the child because of the dancing? Because when he mirrors the child dancing?
I mean, he isn't just like a self-thinking robot.
Correct. But like, I guess I was wondering how you got the transference to the child because initially they're controlling him always through the controllers, right? He doesn't do the mirroring and the fighting until the end, and then we'll talk about Zeus for a hot second.
Well, through some of the training though, the training and the dancing and all that, they were mirroring each other.
Correct. Well, the dancing he was mirroring the child when he ran, but when they were training the fight moves, he was mirroring Charlie. Right. So he was doing that. So then that was like, that's what I'm saying. So that was his coach. Right, so like he had my coach. I got my coach Charlie. He's teaching me some better fight moves because my fight game was I knew I had a strong chin. I could take a punch, and I just needed to have some extra skills to get there. See, so I mean, like really, that's what I'm saying. Adam is the dude here in that he finally got himself in the right situation where he can get to where he needs to get to fight for the title one day.
Right guy, right time, and he finds himself a fighter who really wasn't that good of a fighter. I don't remember what the record was, but when it was being discussed, when they were unearthing some articles from an old box, they were talking about what his record was, and it was pretty pathetic. I mean, it was like,
oh, Charlie's record was as a fighter, yeah, it wasn't good.
19-29 or something.
It was. I thought it was more like 29-19. Like I thought he won more than he lost, but just by a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I remembered it the other way, but
okay.
Maybe it was more closer to 500. Well, I don't know, but it wasn't like wow.
We'll figure it out.
Good fighter. Yeah. He too could also take a punch, right? So,
exactly.
It was like right guy, right time. He's got the caring side in the child and the carefree spunk and spontaneity of child, and then he's got the money hungry grumpy old boxer sitting there helping him out mirroring. But I love your take on it. Like he was sitting there wasting away in the slum of the mud,
and
in the pit. He was just waiting his opportunity to get some humans to pull him up because he had fight dreams.
Exactly, and he had a little left to him because otherwise, I mean, he could let the kid die, but he was like, no, I got him. I'll keep him alive because just stuck his hand out and got him. So all right. And so then the other thing too about Zeus, so the real main bad guy, once he gets to that fight and Adam rises and wins, beats Twin Cities, because they figure out what to do with they figure it out halfway through because that's where Charlie's boxing knowledge kicks in and showing that there's strategy to the fights and all that, which is great. But they after that and then what is it? Is it Max that just yells that we're going to fight for the title and they're going to fight Zeus, and Zeus is this killing machine robot. Right. And here's the thing with Zeus. While the design of him and everything was great, and he was definitely a killing machine robot, I really did not like that they called him Zeus because then that made it stick in my head that it was supposed to be Tiny Lister from the No Holds Barred, the old Hulk Hogan wrestling movie. And that's what I thought it was. That's what I kept thinking of that, even though because his name was Zeus in it, right? Tony Liston's character, his name was Zeus. They did a whole they had a whole wrestling promotion for it. And this is a really bad wrestling movie, and so I was like, they just they decided to just make Zeus a robot from No Holds Barred, and so but he was very much they did a good job of building him up and demonstrating that he was just this straight up killing machine and that Adam had no chance, but even through that, I found that getting back to the rooting part of it, you're still not really rooting against Zeus because he's like, he's a robot. He's just doing what he's designed to do. The robot designer and league owner that are in it, I mean, they're only in it for like 2 minutes, so you can't care about them. So it just really seems to be that it's more like you're just rooting for either Max or Charlie or Adam to overcome a thing and maybe accomplish something, or is it really you're just rooting for their relationship? And the journey, the athletic journey of the up and coming robot fighter Adam is secondary.
I think it could be any or all of it, really. I mean, it's I mean, just listening to like your description of Adam's view of, he's got his hand out there and he's grabbing the only human in who knows how long, if and you humanized Adam to some degree in that description, and for what I was hearing. So I really do think that anybody could really grasp a hold of any or all of those, Ocean. I really do think of it. It's just, it all depends on, what's the mood, what's your season, how are you watching this, what are you taking away from it? But I don't know what's. I know I'm just giving like a wide ass answer, and there's no bubble on any form on that. There's like, D, all of the above. I think I took all of the above and a little bit more. But I mean, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that the effective part of the movie and part of where it has heart is, there is the relationship. Like I said at the beginning, the relationship between Max and Charlie works in a lot of different ways, and that was very surprising to me. And the second thing is, I did find it interesting that I started having an emotional attachment to Adam, and I started thinking that, well, is it just because they made his face look more human-like, and that it has nothing to do with Adam, the machine, because the machine, like all that whole story and motivation that I just gave you, is that what I saw that Adam was doing, or is it like, well, I'd like to have that where I, get a shot at the title and get to, get into the ring and fight for belt or whatever. Although, when you get in fights, they punch you in the face, and I'm really kind of anti getting punched in the face right now.
Right.
So that's going to kind of get in the way of me becoming a world champion at any of these things. But I'm willing to sacrifice that belt to just not get regularly punched in the face. But like so then is that more just reflection of kind of what I'm seeing is like, oh, that would be like a cool dream, from my imagination or from what I'm seeing instead of what is actually happening on, because then it becomes, if you tie that beyond the what in this movie is the Adrian moment, where, so I'll start with mine, where I was like, well, for me, and this is, I think it ties into what we're talking about. For me, the Adrian moment in this movie was when when Charlie actually gets the fight for Max. So he gets the fight for Adam. So I'm going to mix up all these names. I'm going to say it again. For me,
well, they're all one and the same.
Exactly. We're all one team. We're all rowing together in the same direction. All right. Okay. For me, the Adrian moment was when Charlie got the fight for Adam. And that it was, in a sense, his way of saying, at least the way I interpreted it, it was his way of saying that he believed enough in the robot that the robot could win the fight. Because at that point, they kind of like the robot. And honestly, they've got a money-making machine, right? Well, once Adam beats Twin Cities, they can drop down to these circuit fights they've been doing like that and headline, demand big money, right? Every now and again, you want to come up for a league fight and get a little bit extra. Okay, that's nice. But you have a money-making machine, and then you do not have the resources to rebuild Adam. And so then it's like if he gets destroyed by Zeus, like Zeus is doing to most of these other robots,
right?
Then you put it out. So I don't think you arrange for that fight unless you think Adam can win.
Ooh, very good point. I like that. I don't even know if I want to say what I think the Adrian moment is, because I think that's a very good selling point on the Adrian moment. I think I took mine mostly to the literal of where, to me, an Adrian moment is important when an important character is trying to really pound home to somebody that you got to be able to do this, or I'm tired of always being here and supporting you, and I gotta kick you out to be able to show that you can do this. And I'm tired of supporting you because I support you and you keep falling, and those kind of speeches, right? Like those Those kind of
like when Bailey says that.
yeah. So mine is, when they just completely destroy the new Japanese robot that they get, right? He brings it back in all these pieces, and he's talking about like, I need more money, you need more time, I need you to piece this back together. We've got parts lying around here, and she gives him in my mind, a really good conversation as to like, I've always believed in you and I'm here for you. And I'm tired of picking up all the pieces. I'm the only one that's always here picking up all the pieces. That kind of speech. To me, if that's not the Adrian moment, that might be the light to the fuse of the later Adrian moment that you're discussing, where, Charlie is now believing in something rather than looking at it as a cash cow money, for his own needs and paying every bad person. He sees the good in the robot. He sees the good in what the robot is doing for him and for the kid. So, to me, that moment, the Adrian moment, is when she is just pretty much kicking him out, kicking him out on his hard luck. You got to go out and you got to go and do this the right way, rather than me always trying to pick up the pieces for you.
Yeah, I don't know that either are necessarily wrong. I think that the real difference there becomes your perspective on who is your personal star of the movie, right? In all movies, there is the actual star, which in this case is unquestionably Hugh Jackman, and the character of Charlie. But if you adopt that and you're like, well, we're looking at Charlie's story, then I definitely see where you get it, that would be your aging moment. That makes sense. Whereas I'm watching it more like this is the Adam show. And where like so then that moment is like, well, okay, that's great, but let's get back to Adam.
Which is so awesome about what we're doing. It's same movie, two perspectives, and right here, we both honed in on different aspects of the movie to pretty much came to the same conclusion at the end of it. But
it comes to the same conclusion, and then they do the. Oh goodness, with the final fight, you have the whole moment of where you kind of have three levels of belief. One where Charlie, then in a sense, is believing in Adam because he's mirroring him to fight because because Zeus knocks out his controllers or whatever happened,
right?
Whatever problem occurred, and then Bailey's now swooning over seeing Max in a sense fight again. Because because by standing up on the ring and then doing all the moves and everything like that, he's fighting again. And then I don't know, Max is just happy to be able to bond and be with his dad before he has to get shipped off again to Aunt Deborah, right? Which is an interesting aside of the whole thing, where like you have this like sweet ending, and then there is the part of it where it's like, oh yeah, they have to then go off to that Max and Charlie are not going to live together.
Right.
No, they're going to be a part of each other's lives, but like when you want, after the fight is over and they do all the celebrating and all that, and you think, oh, okay, well they're going to now they're going to live happily ever after. It's like, no, they still in this movie, which I give them credit for, kept it to some reality. I was like, yeah, no, I mean you can be a part of each other's lives, but Max is living with Aunt Deborah. Right, which is a better life for him, right? Because they're rich, they have resources, he can go to school, the life should be pretty stable, even though Charlie seems to have improved as a person. As far as what do you think happens the next day? Well, the next day he's back on the road because he has to make money.
Right. Yeah, he's got to go pay off another bookie of some sort, I'm sure.
Or just that's how he's earning his money, right? He can't bring, because effectively, especially now that they have this guy this robot that barely lost to the title, barely lost the title, got the decision. He got the Rocky ending. Adam got his Rocky ending where he just, he made it to the final bell. Yeah, he lost the decision, but he put up a good fight. And then but he's still a good fighter. He can still come back around. Like in Real Steel 2, Zeus will be like upset about how people thought that he should have knocked Adam out in the first round. Adam will come and knock him out, and they'll both go down. Adam will get up with 1 second. It'll be Rocky 2 all over again. Yeah, yes. It'll be great. It'll be Rocky 2 with robots. And so then all that happened, but even though I don't necessarily think that Charlie has to go and pay off bookies or do anything like that, he still has to make money. Right. He still has to live. Yeah. He still has to have a job.
Yeah, he has no established job at all.
Right. And this is his job. His job is to go do robot fighting. And so he's got to hit the road. So that is not an environment for what do you think? He's 11, 12? What do you think?
I think you're right. Somewhere between Yeah.
It's like 12-year-olds. Yeah. So like a 12-year-old needs to have like a much more stable living environment and all that. And so they kept with that reality. And I thought that was good. That the next day was that instead of the whole, oh, and they lived happily ever after, or they just rode off into the sunset. And you didn't even think about, oh, well, how did this kid get educated? Or anything, real. So anyway, I guess that is another aspect of the movie that I did like. It was that they kept that part of it real, and then they kind of just were like, okay, we're just gonna be a part of each other's lives now, and that was it.
So what was like your least favorite part?
We are in a universe where people have gone from human boxers. They don't mention mixed martial arts at all, and that's fine. But they go from human boxers to that people wanted to go back to the gladiator times, which gladiator times were great unless you were a gladiator. So if you were in the crowd, it was a good time. But if you were in the ring, it was like, well, if I win, it's great. But if I lose, it's not so much. Somehow they end up in a universe where they're like, okay, well, we're instead of have humans fight to the death, which would be immoral. We're going to build robots and have them fight to the death. And that's how we're going to get our blood sport. And so they do kind of talk through just at a high level, kind of how you get there. But then there was part of me as far as that I would have wanted it to be a bit more, like a bit more of an exploration about like, well, how does it get there? It's like, was there an act of Congress? Like, did the people get together? Like, was it act of Congress? Was it like a league was formed with about 5 or 6 robots in someone's backyard, and they kind of then exploded out and more because they got a bunch of YouTube and TikTok hits, or like, like how do you, like how did you get there? Because we're going from things were a certain way, and then in effect, in Charlie's lifetime. So you got to figure while he's not a boxer anymore, what are we talking about? 10 years? Like, from when he last fought, right? So that means in his lifetime, this drastic shift happened. And so it's like, all right, well, how? They explain the why, and the why is great. And I recognize that that would not make the movie better. That was just something that I would like. So, I don't know if you give a thought about like how do you think they got there?
No, I found myself thinking the whole time through the movie, like, how did we get to this point? Was there just so many fights that just ended up in just the worst medical conditions possible for fighters, and it was just so inhumane that, hey, let's do robots. Who cares, right?
I didn't think about that. So you're talking about like maybe the fighters were going too far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I just kept going through that, and not that they're gonna, jump on to anything from a publicity perspective or from, the CTE conversation. I don't think that they would bring that into it and be like, oh, hey, we went to robots because of CTE and boxing or anything like that. But it would have been nice, like, if you're talking about his career and how his career ended, you could have just added another sentence that, like, it ended during, like, the boxing pandemic, that, the world governance of boxing stepped in and said, we can't have humans fight anymore because of XYZ. Like, just whatever. Like, you could make up something. It's kind of the future. Or it's today's world in the future, had we had flying cars maybe into the year 2000 as we were promised as kids, right? But it's like, you go through this, we're wondering this question, right? And then earlier on he fights a bull, and I'm conflicted with thought. It's like, if humans aren't cool to fight, how is it cool that a robot can beat up on a bull, or vice versa in that case? But it's like, so disregard humanity and animals, but robots and animals, that's fine. Like, let's just go ahead and have this kind of horrific thing that could potentially, I mean, like, if that robot had saw blades on it, I mean, it would be way more effective against the bull, right? And
if it had saw blades on it, like like the robot's a butcher?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's
like, it's Robot Wars.
That does not seem like a fair fight. I think punches the bull. And then doesn't it throw it? Doesn't it, like, there's a part where it picks the bull up and throws it?
Yeah.
So,
but it's way too big of a bull. But still, I mean, it doesn't matter. To me, it was kind of like, as I'm sitting there thinking and overthinking throughout the whole movie. How do we get here from humans to robots? To here's this guy that has very beat up, old looking truck that has very beat up, old worldly parts of robots. You know, he's got his robot back there, and it doesn't look like he's living the high life. So, you know, it's kind of, to me, my brain was just working and functioning a little bit differently, perhaps than anybody else as you're watching this movie. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, how did we get here? You've been here for a long time, obviously. This truck is beat up. This robot's beat up. You're fighting a bull. Wait a minute. It's okay to fight a bull with a robot, but humans can't fight for money. Okay, no, this is fine. No, this is, and it's not underground. It's not like it was Fight Club against a bull. You know,
Well, it was City Rodeo.
Yeah, it was like a fair or something like that.
Yeah. It's like any other rodeo, right? So, I guess then, I guess I want to make sure I'm following the objection. So, really, what you're saying is that the thing you did not like was that the robot was fighting an animal.
No.
Not about like how they got there, and not that, but like the robot was fighting an animal.
It was all of it. It was all of it, though. Like, I'm sitting there trying to figure out in my head, how did we go from humans fighting isn't good to robots fighting each other? That's fine. To robots fighting animals? Yes, let's do that. But no, let's not have humans fighting each other. You know, there's not a whole lot of context of the how we got away from humans fighting each other. Or maybe humans still are fighting each other. Just it's more exciting to watch robots fight each other. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess, is it a part where, did you feel then that the way they presented it, well, they didn't present it like fighting the bull was illegal, you know, but it felt like, you know, it felt like a rodeo where, and what I mean by that is like, well, many states have rodeos, but not all of them, you know, and it's like, and rodeos aren't everywhere. I mean, I guess no, but I guess a rodeo is not that uncommon. It is a thing of where there's going to be more of them in Texas than you're going to have in, like, you know, New York. But at the same time,
almost every state fair has some
pretty
kind
much
of a
every
rodeo,
state, every state, you can find a rodeo in every state. So yeah. I don't know. Maybe they just, no, I see your point. Or they, you know, because there is there is part of that storyline of a movie where, of course, the robot has to lose, because what does that story look like if the robot wins?
Right. No, I the save there is, well, hey, dear PETA, the bull won, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
well, that and the robot's not real. So
right. There is that. This is a story.
Yeah. There was an actual robot. Yeah. Right. You could have an actual bull. There's not an actual big fighting robot that does those things.
Right. But just the story within itself, to me, was just a little hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy? I'm pretty sure that's not a word.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. I just found it. I just found it a little deceiving, in that without the context of some of the hows and the who's and the what's and the where's and the whens. Just even if it was thrown into general conversation, it would have been nice to know: are humans still fighting? Because
could there? Yeah, are there human? Is there boxing somewhere?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because they never address that. They act like it's gone.
Right. So if we're acting like it's gone, then I'm wondering, well, why, who, what, when, where, and why? What stopped it all? So, you know, to me, it was just like, it was incomplete. It's the one thing I didn't like, because I never got those questions truly answered. And maybe I missed something. Perhaps. Maybe I need to watch it again earlier on. Maybe there was a discussion point that I missed, but I just couldn't find it while I was sitting there watching it and pausing and thinking, okay, why isn't there real boxing anymore? Or, you know, we're not hearing humans versus humans anymore. It's like robot, robot, robot. So did it go away?
Well, I think that part, yeah, I felt that the movie did a good job of answering why. That humans became more bloodthirsty, and then therefore they went to robots. Like that part is there. It is just for me, part of it was the mechanics. You know, like in terms of the implication, of course, is, especially with not rapid of a time horizon, it is like, well, that means these fighting robots were close to being around already,
right?
You know, while the humans were fighting, like you had this, because I am guesstimating here, but I think 10 years is the timeline between Charlie's retirement from boxing in present day, in which case then to have robots of that level of sophistication and all that going on, they'd had to already exist. And so you have that, and then also like, well, then how does it become, how does it become a thing? How does it become legal? How does it become a sanction? How do they then do that? But I guess you're right. They don't discuss if humans still fight anymore. But I think that for me, I was kind of nerding out on the how you got there, but then but the why I felt was more a product of, fans. Similar to you with the UFC, wanted more action all the time.
Yeah, so I guess they got through a really long lull period of just lots of hugging and teenage making out style of boxing. If that's yeah. I mean, even boxing is kind of. There's been times that I've watched a boxing match and all it is just like a couple of punches and then a little bit of holding and then separation and maybe a little punch and holding and some serious rope-a-dope and then really nothing after.
Well,
the whole fight.
Yeah, they don't tie up in robot fighting. It's straight. No. It's rock'em sock'em robots. We're going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then okay. Well, and so while definitely they did not discuss too much about the how, the why, I think is that, and then also I don't know. I feel that they, for the movie did a good job with the bull, but I do understand and agree with you about why. It does not make a lot of sense, except for maybe insert comedic scene here, why the robot would fight a bull.
Yeah. I mean, it's the opportunity, right?
I guess. Man, Jim, it is always great to talk about movies with you. If you really enjoy the show, please become a supporting member at thenextreel.com/join. For $5 a month or $55 a year, you will gain members-only access to bonus show content for this and many other shows in the Next Reel family of film podcasts. To become a subscribing member, click on the link in our show notes. We also like to know what you think. Should robot fighting become a reality? Should the next great reality show be So You Think Your Robot Can Dance? Is Charlie a good father or a great one? To join us in our Discord community, use the link in our show notes. Like, rate, listen, and most importantly, share this podcast with anyone you know that loves sports and movies.
Tell us, what are we doing, Ocean? Bonus time. What are we doing, Ocean? What are we doing, Ocean?
Okay, we're gonna do some unknowable questions. All right.
Unknowable questions.
Unknowable questions. All right. So, this movie for me sparked a lot of things, and I think that we discussed some of them at the end of the show, but I wanted to delve a bit more into them that were, the smaller things here and there, some of things that could potentially merit a longer conversation, but just these random questions that I came across with this movie. The first one, which is, why don't we like Aunt Deborah? Not only do we not like her, we didn't like her so much that we didn't even talk about her in the show. I mean, we mentioned her for like briefly at the end, but that was it, right? So she seems to be the only person who's actually wanting the best thing for Max in this whole movie. Because if you think about all the other adults for him, around him, Charlie, who has to sell him, Marvin wants to buy him, but not right now. So Marvin's going to put a down payment on him and then get him, pick him up later. Right, so he's doing that, right?
You hold this for 2 months, and I'll give you like 10 grand or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna put down a deposit on your child. I don't want him full right now. So they're doing that. Bailey just seems to be treating him like, well, he's a nice kid and everything, but she seems mostly, not completely indifferent, but doesn't really care. And then other than that, he's just around a bunch of other people like, Ricky and Finn that are all just kind of bad influences and, not someone a 12-year-old should be hanging out with. So, that Aunt Deborah wants what's best for him, wants him to have a stable home life, wants him to be provided for, wants to be supported. She even supports him during the final fight that she clearly hates, but supports him in the going and letting him do it and all that stuff. So what do you think? Why do we hate Aunt Deborah?
I mean, she's like in the background. For me, like I wasn't even really aware that she was there until I'm reading your question here. And it was like, oh yeah, no, I guess yeah, she's in the story a little bit at the
Yeah.
beginning and at the end, very supportive, like you're saying. So it's like, I don't know. You would think that that would be a little bit more of a significant role for me to think of, especially since she is being supportive. But I mean, it was just to me, it was just like a right over the
Really?
head.
So
Just
the movie seemed to couch her almost as a villain. So you didn't feel like she was like kind of like you're just kind of we're against Aunt Deborah.
No.
No? Okay. All right.
No.
All right. It's fine. We'll move on from that. Next question. How does Bailey's gym stay open with nobody ever in it and machine parts everywhere?
Right. I mean, same question, dude. Like, where's the income coming from? Like, you don't even see like one boxer just in the background or somebody like coming
Nothing.
through the shower and just like, see you next week, or like, hey, you haven't paid me back dues for 6 months. Like, nothing. Like, no global gym, no nothing. Like, nothing. Nobody is there.
Right.
There's nothing. And she's not flipping parts on eBays for these robots.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like So that's like another thing about this movie, which is like this is just clearly this is one of those questions that is like, okay, you can't know. Kind of like what did Max's mom die from? How did she die? There's a thing about that where when you think about it, it's like, okay, so Max's mom should be what, 40? Right? Somewhere in there? 30. I mean, honestly, it could be 35. We don't know. She might have been younger, right? Like, because Charlie's what best case scenario, the oldest he's possible is 45, but he's probably closer to about 30, mid, probably early 40s, late 30s, somewhere in there, because he's a retired boxer, right? So you got to figure that he's probably in about mid 40s, right? So that means his mom has got to be the same age or younger. And so, how does she die? And why don't we know how she died? Like you think that would be a big thing in the movie because it'd be weird for someone of that age to die.
Yeah, like, and it's not mentioned by the aunt, right? I mean, they don't mention it at the beginning or anything. I'm trying to think. There's nothing that's like mentioned in passing, like, oh, my dear sister. Nothing like that.
Nope, nothing. So we did talk about it earlier, where the one question we were not sure if we knew about it or not was Charlie's record, which is 24-19. So look that up. Yeah. So don't say we didn't answer anything in this bonus question. But this these are the questions I had. Like, what did she die from? Nothing. All right. So all right. And then the other thing too. Okay. Next question. Why in a world with robot fighting does it seem that betting, gambling seems to be illegal, or at the very least underground? Because they seem to be like every time you see someone with this betting, it's always like some bookie, kind of like Finn's character, which is was that? That's Anthony Mackie playing Finn. His character, right? He has like the whole little. Not only does he have like when they have the first fight with Noisy Boy, where it's the first fight with Noisy Boy who gets beat up, he kind of has like it's like he's in a. Almost, it looks like a Vegas casino, but basically it's just a big counter with a wall. It's like an old bookie wall, with like a bunch of stuff there. And then in the league one, he's standing outside in the lawn and then writing down bets. Why does it seem like betting is illegal?
That's a very good observation. I just ended up taking it more of like, there's always side bets going on, right? So, and he's clearly always in the business for needing to pay somebody. So he's always looking for some kind of side bet, side hustle of whatever is currently going on. So
you think Finn is doing? Well, Finn is the house, so he seems to be providing this betting scenario, but he's doing it on in the league, which is the main reputable one. He's just on a lawn somewhere, and then they're betting big money in a thing where the odds. I did not follow these odds. Like what they were talking about, the whole like last around, not last around. It didn't make any sense what they were talking about, but okay. But they, forgetting that, but like, and then in the other one, Noisy Boy, it seemed to be like it felt like a old movie with a bookie who's writing things down on a chalkboard, and then they're kind of just doing it because it's not legal. Like
yeah, no, I could see that. I guess I was just taking it from a light visual perspective, like I'm saying, it's like, sure, he's the house, but he's just taking some side hustle, just laying out the.
But that would be, if betting was legal, that would be illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, like, well, I mean, I guess really that's illegal either way. If betting is not legal, that's illegal. If betting is legal, that's illegal. So really, either way, he's breaking the law, right? And then, and also, what is Finn's deal with robots fighting, right? Like, does he have a robot, or like, is he just a bookie? Like, what's his like? That seems to be, that also seems to be Finn's deal. Is like, all right, so he's just a bookie. Is that what he does? He just takes side. He just goes around and creates like takes house bets on robot fighting.
Yeah, no, yeah, there's no connection there to like any of the not to Zeus, right? He's not like a co-owner of Zeus or anything like that. He wasn't a co-creator. He didn't help the crazy developer dude. He didn't like do any money with him, right?
No, nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he doesn't seem to have a robot.
There.
So yeah, so is that his deal? Is he just like think of that these questions and stuff the movie doesn't explain?
No. Yeah. He's got to be a bookie then.
Yeah, I guess maybe. I mean, that's what he's doing.
That's
but then then he's inside these things, and he's also backstage, like he's a part of a thing, like he would be with the with like you would be in these type of fights. But like, yeah, no, he's just like I don't know. He just seems to be there.
Could he be a promoter and we're just not seeing it? Like
maybe, but if he's the promoter who's also getting bets, I mean, that's a conflict of interest. I mean, even Don King didn't at least out loud. Yeah, right. He just didn't out loud bet on those fighters that he was promoting, right? Next quick hitting question.
Okay.
Why did at the end of the movie Bailey goes on a date? Why did she even go when she knew that she was just gonna ignore the guy and watch the fight? I mean, the whole time. They go to a bar. They know the bar's going to be showing the fight. She knows it's his first fight in the league. She knows she's going to ignore him. Why is she on a date?
Just to spite Charlie.
How does it spite Charlie? Charlie doesn't know anything. He's at the fight.
It's her logic. I don't know. Okay. That's a great question though. Like, I mean, because it's not really. Yeah, she needed a ride because like she has no money. She needed a meal.
Well,
the gym isn't doing too good.
She has a gym. She owns a gym that
it's not doing
with
too
nobody. It's not doing too good. It's doing fine. The fact that it's open and nobody's there ever.
Her dad gave it to her.
And also somehow she can fix robots because like there's a whole thing where when they first come with Adam, she cleans up Adam and everything like that and starts messing them, and she figures out how to make them work. Didn't you grow up in a boxing gym? Like, how do you know this? And then if you know this, why aren't you doing this instead of in a boxing gym with nobody in it?
I thought Max asked her, and I thought it was like she just like tinkered around with them or something.
Whatever, sure.
I don't think that there was a whole. Yeah, I don't think there was a whole lot of context there. Not,
all right.
Well,
her taking around did really well. So I mean, she figured out how Adam worked. Figured out how Noisy Boy worked.
In the Japanese one.
Right, Japanese. Yeah, Noisy Boy's Japanese one.
Noisy Boy. Yeah.
Figured out how that worked. But yeah, so she has this big gym that is sized for robots because I mean, I've been in a lot of gyms too, but like you gotta think about it. Those robots, what do you think they were, about 10 feet tall? 10 feet tall? Right?
At least.
Right.
At least.
And did you ever notice they were walking around in the gym and never looked like their head was anywhere near a ceiling? Like, when was the last time you've been in a gym that had 30-foot high vaulted ceilings?
Oh, never.
Right?
I mean,
exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, honestly, it was a cathedral that they turned into a boxing gym that nobody comes to, and it still makes money. I mean, it's still, how's it open?
It reminded me of like an entryway of like an old train station.
Yes, it did. Yes, yeah.
Right? Like the Vancouver train station up in Vancouver, Canada. For some reason, it reminded me with that the Archie entryway and stuff. Yeah.
All right.
No, it's very good point. Yeah, I mean most boxing gyms are like converted strip malls or some old business, and it's like a 10-foot standard ceiling.
I've not been in a gym that would have ceilings, let alone entrances that the 11-foot robot could walk into.
Like even some of the bigger gyms,
yeah,
not to name any names, but the one that sounds like a county in LA.
Nice.
I mean, some of those are really tall and big. But I mean, still, it's not like it's big and constructed around a boxing ring.
It doesn't need to be because there's no boxers there, so we're good. All right, so we'll wrap this up with one more question, and this is one where you have to predict the future.
Yep.
And you have to predict the future and have an argument for it. Now, you've had no time to think about it, so the argument better be great. What comes first? Fighting robots, flying cars?
Fighting robots.
Why?
Okay, so flying cars has way too many things in the way of regulations and all that, although given most likely the most current political situation. There might not be a real FAA that's actually happening right now. But
The
I mean,
politics
that's
aside,
besides the
like with,
point.
yeah.
Politics aside.
Politics aside, yeah. Do you think that flying cars will be created? Do you think fighting robots will be in our world before flying cars?
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, what was it? It was over 5 years ago that we started seeing on the internet those videos of the fighting robot dogs that had like guns on them and stuff, you know? Did you ever see those?
No, I've never seen those.
Oh yeah, dude, you got to Google like fighting robot dogs. They're pretty, I mean, it's pretty scary. So you got that, plus you got Elon's Tesla robot that supposedly is going to be coming out in 2025 or 2026, you know, for like 25 grand, you're going to have a robot. So
Okay.
35 grand, whatever he's promising, right? So it's inevitable that somebody's going to end up having a robot fight club. So I think robots fighting is going to happen sooner than flying cars, because right now the only flying car that you can kind of have is like a two-stroke motor with a big old propeller on the back of it, you know. I mean, even then you can't have it, you don't register it, but you can fly with it. It's not a car. And then the closest thing to that, it's kind of like a big drone, and it's not even registered as a car, but you can buy it as a car.
Yeah, right. There's one that they're attempting to make now that does right. It looks more like a drone. It has kind of wheels. It's not really. It is kind of like a car, but it is more like a drone than a car. And the wheels on it aren't as great. So yeah, there's issues about how much of it is a car, whereas it's something you can get in and it will fly. But I think it's flying cars. And here's my argument why: the robot fighting to me requires too much money. It will require a wealthy society to get up and running because, for example, even in your example, if the robot costs $25,000, you have to have enough money that you're like, I'm going to take $25,000 and potentially have it destroyed, right? And have it destroy things. Or like, you know, you're going to be you're going to have to then put more and more money into it as you keep going. And that would require a fairly wealthy base of people that could afford to, in a sense, destroy hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, right? Because when you look at the final product at the end, I mean, those things, I mean, you're looking at millions of dollars of machinery, and then they're going to have them be destroyed. I think that flying cars, while more difficult to make than the fighting robots, and also will on the early days require a base of money to then, you know, sell and bring off the ground, people would buy the flying cars because they would not intentionally destroy them. So then more people would then buy that. Like then would buy a fighting robot, because with a fighting robot, you understand that if your robot loses, you could walk in with a robot and walk out with a robot head. You know, and where with a flying car, you're doing So I think that from just as an economic concept, that flying cars will happen first.
I think fighting robots is already happening, but that's just me. That's just me.
All
right. I win.
Enough said.